Ho, 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 ho! Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to everyone out there in Podcastville. Welcome to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil Laird.
Ho, ho, hello, horror fans. I'm Jaime and Fuego.
Happy Kwanzaa, I'm Marcia Parker.
We are back for a special podcast for you guys today. It is, of course, the day of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ's birth.
Praise him. Technically, it's Festivus, but, you know.
Whatever. It's
Kwanzaa.
I am not a particularly religious person, but I do celebrate Christmas. Fuego is a little bit of both. Marcia, I don't know. She's
I had the religion drilled into my brain. Dad's a Bible teacher, so I celebrated Mary a religious Christmas.
I celebrate commercialism.
Yay!
Yeah, I think we all do at this table, right?
Absolutely. So what we're bringing to you guys today is a double shot, holiday-themed review. One movie from this year and one movie from the previous year, if I'm not mistaken, Fuego.
Indeed.
So the movie we're going to start with is Holidays, the horror anthology movie that centers around, obviously, different holidays. The actual podcast this week is going to be two different anthology movies, the second one being A Christmas Horror Story, which is another anthology movie that came out in 2015. So we are going to be talking about both films and giving our thoughts on them, and we'll kind of go through story by story. Might not take too long, might take a long time, just kind of depends on how the discussion goes. So let's get into it, guys. Holidays, comprised of, it looks like 9 or 8 different shorts total. So the first one was Valentine's Day, and that one was one I did not like at all.
It was okay, but I mean, typical teen revenge kind of, bullied. That's an aspect of it. There's this girl who she kind of has a crush on the gym teacher or like the swim instructor or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
The girls are all making fun of her, and so when she gets a Valentine, it turns into a big thing, and then she gets some revenge. It's pretty brutal. Marcia, did you like it? Or kind of girl-centric.
It didn't like wow my world, but
it was okay.
It was pretty brutal.
When the kill went down, I guess we'll spoil.
And it
should we
kind
spoil?
Yeah, we always spoil them.
It kind of reminded me of like when I was a young lass.
Oh, really? You had a crush on the Studley gym teacher?
No, but I thought about murdering some squirrels in the woods before.
Well, that seems more like the Marcia I know.
Yeah, I didn't do it.
I wasn't a fan. I wasn't a fan of a couple things in this one, and that was I wasn't a fan of the main girl, and I wasn't a fan of the story itself. I thought it was quite frankly just boring and annoying, and the way they shot it too was like so over cheesy. Like I get that they were going for a stylized look, but like when she's holding her prize at the end and the camera's doing like a tilt as it's pushing in on her, and you can practically see the flowers and daisies dancing around her head and stuff. It's just like, I wasn't a big fan of that one.
Yeah, it wasn't super memorable, so we can be done with that, right?
Rolling right along. St. Patrick's Day was another one that I was not a fan of.
This one was much weirder.
Go ahead, what was this one about, Fuego?
Well, this is the one where the school teacher had the crazy, just almost possessed-looking, creepy girl in her class, and then she ends up being assimilated pretty much for some strange pregnancy, and she had a snake growing in her belly, and there was a whole like cult-like aspect that I found similar to the Wicker Man in it, and yet not in a very compelling way. Although
Wicker Man wasn't very compelling in my opinion anyway.
Oh, the ending is so fantastic. But yeah, and then she had the snake, and then she wanted to keep it. It was just so weird.
Bizarre.
It was gross too, at least for me.
I wasn't a fan of that one either. I did not like it.
Totally went in a completely opposite direction that I imagined it going. I'm like, oh, it's St. Patrick's Day. Let's see how creative they're gonna get with this leprechaun story. But then they didn't do any of that.
I guess since that's happened on the screen before, they decided to go a different route. I guess there's some real Irish lore in this from what I was reading about the St. Patrick's Day snake, and I'm not too familiar with all of that, but yeah, the fact that it was in her stomach, and she knew it was in her stomach, because remember, she went to the hospital, and they're like, you have to be operated on right away, because there is a creature growing inside your body, and she's like, no, I'll have it.
Yeah.
It was weird.
It was ridiculous. Moving right along, the next one in the movie was actually one where I was like, okay, now I'm at least going to watch the rest of the movie, because the first two did not make me want to continue. But the third one definitely did. This was Easter. And Marcia, do you want to talk about what Easter was about?
Okay, sure. Easter.
Easter. Ooh, that's a different holiday.
Where did that come from? So it's about a young girl.
Scourge of women everywhere.
Who wakes up and sees the Easter bunny. So, we've had...
Not quite the Easter bunny, though. It's almost like a weird mushing of... I mean, it was basically like Jesus the Easter bunny. And
Jesus is the Easter bunny.
I guess so.
And
so we found out. It was some gross practical.
Right, and the whole, spoiler... is when if you see the Easter bunny, then you now take over his curse and you become the new Easter bunny, and to terrorize children.
It's almost like the passing of the Santa hat, as we've seen in some weird movies. Where if you find out Saint Nick's secret, you got to be the next one.
But if I'm not mistaken, there's an actual arc in this story. Like it starts off with the little girl wanting to see the Easter bunny. And the mom was more about the religious side of it, and she wasn't as into that.
Yeah, Hippotis, Hoppotis, Deo. South Park fans.
But anyway, she broke protocol and looked at the bunny anyway. And as Fuego said, it was we didn't think she got caught. She didn't think she got caught. Because she looked at him while his back was turned, but
he knew.
She turns the corner and he's there confronting her, and it's essentially what we perceive as Jesus, except with a nasty human bunny head hybrid, where he's got the crown of thorns, but he's also got a face with the giant buck teeth and the nose with the cheeks nearby it and all that stuff. And
I think he also had the blood wounds on the hands too.
He did.
Yes, he still had the stigmata.
Yeah.
It was a really trippy sight, and just whoa, what the heck am I looking at?
And it's
kind of thing.
Really interesting concept if you think about it. Like, why is somebody thought, okay, why do we have an Easter bunny and it's supposed to be about the rebirth of Jesus, or not rebirth, but the coming or upcoming, I don't know. I'm not.
Well, the Easter holiday is the resurrection.
The resurrection.
Yeah, the resurrection.
That was what it was originally about.
When he comes back to life, but nobody actually sees him. The body's, whatever. So it's a mashup of the two cultures. Really, is why there's an Easter bunny. But
the older and the newer, essentially.
Yeah. So I thought it was a pretty interesting concept to actually mash them together into one being.
And also, I didn't think the girl was gonna have the outcome that she did. I thought she was going to get out of it or plead her way through or whatever. And even when she was like, "Can I see my mom again? Can I say bye?" And he's like, "No,
sorry,
sorry, you're gone." And that's pretty much how it went down and ended. Was she goes with them and never to be seen again.
Yeah,
that was
in
good.
Her current form.
I like that one.
Yeah, that was good.
And then, of course, we go from peak to yet another valley with one called Mother's Day. I wasn't a fan of this one.
It was about witches, that's why.
No, of course. Ugh.
Yeah, this is the girl, wasn't she pregnant all the time? And then she gets recruited, and you don't really exactly understand the extent of what they're bringing her in for. It's similarities to the cult recruitment.
Yeah, to the Irish one.
Patrick's one.
Yeah.
But not a lot, with the exception of the weird... Wasn't it like an orgy or something, or just weirdness at the end once they actually ritualistic naked insanity? I don't know.
Yeah, it was because the witches are barren, and so they have to bring in a woman, and they do this ritual, which is orgy, orgy. Witches equal orgy.
Ritualistic sex.
And then they keep her there and feed her and all that stuff until she's ready to get
pretty much in captivity, more or less. Yeah. But I'll agree. It wasn't one of the more compelling ones. I'd say this one I thought was on par with the Patricks in that it was better than Valentine's Day, but still nothing up to the par of Easter.
Right.
So. Yeah. Definitely not.
Yeah.
But then we get to one that I actually really enjoyed a lot. I thought the idea behind this one was so solid, and that's for Father's Day.
It's the most emotional for me.
Oh yeah, Father's Day was.
I like this one a lot. So a young woman basically receives a cassette in the mail, and it turns out that it's a cassette that was sent to her from her father. And when she starts listening to it, it's got instructions on it where basically, the father is telling her, if you follow my directions, you'll get the answers that you seek. What's interesting is the things that she's listening to are things that he recorded on this trip, because he basically went on a walk with a tape recorder and recorded the whole way so that she could then retrace his steps. He says, you can start right here and then walk this way. And while he walks, he talks to her. And so she's listening to him talk while she's walking the same path. But while he's walking, he's actually walking with her as a little girl. So it adds this really interesting dimension. And it's like, what happened? Because clearly he's disappeared from her life and we don't know why. And this, in fact, this walk is the moment at which he disappeared from her life. And so she's going to finally get answers. And it's got this badass ending where she gets to the point where she walks into the same place that he walked into and like was never heard from again.
I think, or something like
either
that.
way, it was a building that was
temple.
Essentially abandoned or something. And she finds what she thinks is her father. And when she taps it on the shoulder, it ends up being just a humanoid creature and everything kind of goes to black and she gets killed. Presumably, it's either the thing that killed her father or her father having been converted into something like what killed him.
To lure her in with the cassette.
To lure her.
Yeah.
Well, no, because the cassette is obviously years and years old. So it must have found the cassette and sent it out. It didn't necessarily construct, everything on the cassette.
But it used it as a luring device.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there was just so much cool in this short. I loved it so much.
Well, it had some heart because of the fact that you could tell there was a lot of love between the daughter and the father, and I actually got a big Frequency vibe from this.
A little bit, and maybe that's why I liked it so much.
Yeah.
I really love Frequency.
Marcia, what about you?
I really enjoyed it. It kind of, to me, it felt like the father, like it was almost a destiny thing or a circle, like that. What your parents do, you end up doing, or something similar. But he also set it up like he knew she was going to have to take this path, so she was kind of destined to take this path again.
Right.
And so...
Well, because we all know Ka is a wheel and life is cyclical.
Yeah. So I really liked it. It has so many different levels, and it was really well made, and the acting was phenomenal. It just set a different level to that the other ones just hadn't reached yet. I mean, Easter was really well done, but
I thought Easter was similarly emotional, and the girl being faced with a really just disheartening and saddening.
But it didn't have the emotional build-up that
nowhere
this one
near
did.
as much. No.
Yeah,
not
so
a chance.
I thought this one was phenomenal.
So you think the strongest so far? Both
oh,
you guys?
absolutely.
So far, definitely Father's Day, but not my favorite.
We're getting to that one soon enough. Now we're getting to what might be my least favorite right now.
Interesting. Despite St. Patrick's Day and Mother's Day. Those were awful.
It's down there. I did not like this. It was trying to be funny, and it didn't work for me.
And who was it made by?
It was made by Mr. Kevin Smith, written and directed. And so he said beforehand he was going to put his daughter in it. And it's about some cam girls getting revenge on a real asshole of an employer. And they're all living at this group house, presumably in L.A., and probably making next to nothing for showing their goodies off. And they put it's like a zap device up his ass, if I remember correctly.
Dildo, like attached to like a battery, a car battery.
But that shocks him. Don't they shock him? Like, shock him with this device up his ass?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like they're electrifying him through a dildo that they control like outside. And they super glued it so he couldn't get it out. It was kind of
cruelty for cruelty's sake, which is a little tough sometimes.
A little torture porny, but they played it for laughs, though, so it wasn't quite.
I didn't find it funny.
I didn't either. I mean,
at all. Just the fact it got glued up there bothered me.
And the guy looked familiar. I cannot remember what I had seen him in.
He's on Epic Mealtime.
Okay.
He's Harley something. He's been in Kevin Smith movies before, the most recent ones, because Epic Mealtime had Kevin Smith on one of their episodes, and they became friends. And so, since
Harley Morenstein.
Harley Morenstein. Since he's Canadian and Kevin loves Canada and goes up there all the time and films stuff up there all the time, then he and Harley became friends. And so, that's who it was. And again, Harley Quinn Smith was in it as one of the cam girls getting revenge, and I thought it was okay. It definitely wasn't anywhere near as bad as St. Patrick's Day or Mother's Day, in my opinion.
I think it was just harder for me to watch because I just get turned off so quickly when it gets into the like torture porn, like avenue. 'Cause it's just like
it
I
felt
feel
very
violated
slapsticky to me,
watching
so,
this.
yeah.
So I don't know. I just
Fair enough.
Most torture porn's pretty serious, and at least this for me felt more lighthearted. It just wasn't
I
funny.
didn't get that
Really?
vibe at all. I just
Really?
thought it was just disgusting, and
Well, that I agree with.
I felt uncomfortable, and I just wanted to skip it.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Wow. Interesting.
Well, that brings us to Christmas, starring Seth Green.
This was actually pretty interesting.
What's that one about?
This one is about a man who goes through all these lengths to get a VR virtual reality device for his son for Christmas.
Played by Mr. Seth Green.
Yeah, and the funny thing about this device is that it plays your worst deed, what he had to go do. Like, it showed him what he did to get the device, which was murdering somebody. I think didn't he murder somebody?
No, the guy had a heart attack and he didn't get the pills out of the pocket because the guy had the last VR system.
Yeah, so he just let him die so he could get the toy for his kid.
Right. So he was afraid that I can't remember all of it, but every person
it caused some issues with his wife.
Yeah, because it can save what you see. So if it recorded that, then if his wife happened to strap on the device, he could get caught. So that's what he was always worried about.
But didn't he also see because his wife used it and his son used it?
And this is actually where, for me, it was very reminiscent of a weaker version of the Toby Kebbell episode of Black Mirror, where they all have the implants in their heads and it records everything they do, and he suspects his wife of cheating and goes crazy, and that's what this reminded me of.
Yeah, definitely. It felt like a Black Mirror episode to me too.
In some ways, yeah.
I thought it was pretty interesting, and I thought they did a well job. I love Seth Green, though.
I do, too.
Even as Oz in Buffy?
Yeah, poor Oz. Okay. Betrayed by Willow.
Yeah. What do you have against him in Buffy the
kidding.
Vampire?
Not
he was
much.
amazing.
It just came to mind
Can't
suddenly.
hardly wait. I mean, wow.
Yo, I got to have sex tonight.
Idle hands.
Idle hands.
Yeah, he was one of the dead friends in that. So now we're to Marcia's favorite, though, right?
Yes.
Hence her reaction just now.
New Year's Eve.
This was a great one.
Yeah.
It was very good. I'll say it was one of the top 3 for me.
Yeah, you go ahead. I did Christmas. You go ahead.
Go ahead, Fuego.
Oh, well, this wasn't one of my personal favorites, but it was at least in the top 3. It was an interesting turning of the tables. Blind date, New Year's Eve, you can imagine the desperation somebody might have in that situation. And this guy's a serial killer, and he thinks he's got another victim, and he's going to take her into, his crazy den of destruction. And lo and behold, she brings her back to his house, if I could talk proper, she brings him back to her house, and the tables are turned, and turns out she's actually a killer herself.
Yeah.
And so, surprise!
Surprise!
A surprise gift there. At the,
Predator becomes prey.
Right.
Which I think we've seen on screen before, but I mean, this was...
It was really well made, because you didn't know it was going to flip until you knew it was going to flip. You're like, oh, wait a second.
She seemed a little quirky, but didn't really give the signs.
Right.
Well, the thing that tipped you off is the fact that nothing seemed to tip her off. You know what I mean?
Like, he was having some glaring things.
Yeah, he had some things where you're like, there's no way you'd stay on the date after that, but she was hanging in there, and so that should have been like the sign to us as viewers to be like, what is wrong with her that she's not leaving yet? You know?
You did get the vibe she was luring him into a trap though after a while. So just how
I was surprised up until pretty much until we got the reveal. Yeah.
I thought they did a fantastic job. The New Year's Eve segment was what made the whole movie worth it to me. So there was only the couple, like the Easter, Father's Day, and...
Well, so we have a top 3 we can all agree on then, right? Which would be, New Year's Eve, Father's Day, and then Easter?
Yeah, I'd say so.
I guess Christmas would be the 4th, but...
Christmas would be close 4th, but actually maybe not even that close of a 4th, but 4th, yeah.
It was okay, but it was not worth, I wouldn't say it was top 3. But
sure. No, I think you're right. I think Easter, Father's Day, and New Year's Eve are the top 3 for sure.
I mean, it's worth watching. If you guys haven't seen it, just go through it. Maybe you have a different opinion. Maybe you catch something that we didn't catch.
Just watch those 3, and you're good if you haven't seen it.
They might have other
You may opinions. Like the weird serpentine one that I thought was so strange.
Maybe they understand the whole lore behind it. That could be why we didn't get it, but I don't know.
Or if you like movies like The Witch, because that last scene in Mother's Day felt very much like the dancing in the woods at the end of The Witch.
Agreed.
That's what it reminded me of.
It did.
So,
yeah.
So I guess that sums it up for holidays, huh? Check it out if you like anthology horror. And I mean, beyond that, it's at least worth watching. And
it's on Netflix right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
As is the next one.
As is the next one, which is called A Christmas Horror Story, which again is a 2015 horror anthology movie set around the Christmas holiday. Now,
starring William Shatner, just have to throw that.
Starring William Shatner, indeed. Yeah, he probably would sue us if we didn't say that.
Yeah, he's the most recognizable face in the entirety of it. Everybody else is
entertaining,
smaller,
as
more
well.
bit actors. Yeah, he actually wasn't bad. He was like framing as the narrator, almost, kind of, right?
Yeah, both he and the Santa proper story were the framing devices. Yeah, really.
Because they were
interconnected, right? Exactly. So go ahead, Fuego. Why don't you start off telling them what the overall framing device is?
Yeah. So it's Christmas. I think it starts Christmas Eve, if I'm not mistaken, because there's there's people going to visit family. There's a cop who's going to chop down a tree, in the woods, and there's also there's kids that are going to investigate at their school that used to be a coven, or used to be a coven for nuns, I should specify, not for witches. And the fourth one, what was it? I'm trying to remember. That was also, so we had Santa killing zombies, the kid getting possessed when they go out into the woods, the family going on the visit that ends up dealing with Krampus.
Past. You're trying to remember Ghost of Christmas Past.
Ghost of Christmas Past, remind me then.
When the kids go to the school, they break into the school and they go down to where the kid got
killed,
murdered. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was interesting how they tied it together, though, because the cop that's going to chop down the tree with his son that something happens to, he doesn't come back the same from these woods. He was the cop who was on the scene for the killing
in the opening
at the
story.
school. And so, I mean, the way they interlocked everything, it was cool, and it showed that they actually put some thought into the writing, whereas most anthology stuff, it's like, here's one story, here's another story. Like with Holidays, they were all totally separate entities. This all kind of connected and had that cool framework. So.
Yeah, they
didn't do it as well as Trick or Treat, but they tried.
I agree.
The ghost story, the girl that came to bring him the key to get into the school was the girl for the family. The family Christmas with Krampus. So it was really well. I thought at first it's hokey, but it's not at the same time.
Better production values than I was anticipating.
Yeah, like it's just kind of going in and out for me. Like at first it was like Santa killing zombie elves. I was like, this is so funny because it reminded me of like
that, and that's what we start
80s
right
horror.
out with.
That's what reminded me of, like 80s horror with like like zombie. I'm gonna kill you, Santa, you fat.
Yeah, and they were dropping F-bombs. They're like, you fucking fat bitch.
Yeah. Well, it was funny. Yeah. So basically, the story is Santa's up at the North Pole working with his elves when suddenly a bunch of them go zombie. They go feral and start attacking and killing all the other elves and turning them
to Krampus. Like I got the total Krampus vibe right off the bat because he was all like, "Oh no, this means he's coming."
Well, they do some Deadpool-esque flashbacking right at the beginning. They say 12 hours later, and that's when you get, then you end up jumping back. And I hate to, as Cecil always tells me, he's like, Deadpool wasn't the first to use this framing device, and he's looking at me right now smiling. But but it was popular, this past year. So yeah.
So yeah, that was the first one, and then we get to the tree one, right? So go ahead, Fuego. What was that one about?
Yeah, so that was where the cop who was on the scene, and well, actually, no, we could probably talk about, because the next one they go into right after Santa, right, was the kids going into the school.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, and so, the whole person was killed there. There was allegations about, way back when it was still kind of a nunnery coven type thing, that a girl had, a immaculate conception type thing where she was pregnant, and then they ended up, killing her, or
she died, I think she died during birth or something. I can't remember this story, but
she was sent there because she was pregnant. Yeah. It was of that time where if you were pregnant, you weren't married, you were going to be out of sight, out of mind. Your family was going to send you away, and that's what happened. And she ended up dying. And even if we can't remember details beyond that, there was that allegation her spirit was still there, and maybe that was connected.
Right, because the year before there was a different girl and boy were murdered. Like the boy was crucified up on the wall, and the girl was hanging from the rafters.
And there was a Bible passage that was super creepy that was written in blood on the wall.
Right, yeah. So that's what led the kids that were doing a video project
and they
for
sneak
school.
in.
So they go in, they're doing like a whole like here from like news video like thing, like reporter thing.
Like an expose on the place.
Right, and the principal was there, and the principal wasn't it Fonzie? It was the Fonz?
Wasn't Fonzie, but it was somebody who looked familiar, and I can't...
Wasn't it Fonz? I thought it was
No, you're thinking of Scream. Oh. The first Scream movie.
I thought it was him. Okay. No. Anyway. Non-important.
Yeah.
But they go down to the basement where this happened. They end up getting locked down there.
Yeah, which is part of the original structure, because they like built the school on top of the basement of this coven that they'd torn down, and spiritual presence starts to inject itself in there. And that's one thing that we have to mention is that
are you saying convent or coven?
I said coven this time, didn't I? I know originally I said coven, which is why I switched.
Okay, yeah, convent. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, convents. Gotcha. I probably mucked that word up. The C word, damn it, and women
that's
don't
a
like
different
either.
Word.
Yes, I know.
Snap. Sorry, go ahead.
How about that? Yeah, but they do jump back and forth, so they don't tell the story in its entirety. After we see what these kids are doing, that's when we jump to the cop. And the cop who was on the scene for the murder the year before, he's actually out to chop down a tree, and they go onto some private land. This is very Stephen King-esque for me, where they're like, you go into the private woods that you're not supposed to, and lo and behold, look what happens. The kid disappears, and briefly, very briefly. But then when he reemerges, he's not saying a single word, and he's acting super strange. And the mom thinks nothing of it, but the dad, who you can tell has a strained history with the mom and with the kid,
because he was working on the job all the time.
Yeah, and he was going through all kinds of crap and drinking too much and angry and probably hitting the kid, or who the hell knows.
He was affected by the ghosts or like the kids at the school.
Yeah, just the post-traumatic of finding those kids dead and whatnot. So yeah, when they go back home with the kid, he's still acting weird, and he's like gobbling down spaghetti super fast, and not even taking a chance to breathe. He's just shoveling and
then doing weird stuff like watching his mom shower and
like got in bed with her.
Yeah.
It just gets progressively worse. Trust us.
Like I was like so creeped out. I'm like ew, ew. But he's like 8 years old, and he's like, oh.
That kid was legit creepy. I didn't like him.
Turns out he's a changeling.
Yes.
Which was really interesting.
Yeah, and I actually really liked that old movie. Like, it was the whole changeling idea is really kind of freaky when you think about it. So
George C. Scott was in that, I want to say, right?
Might have been, yeah. I can't remember.
70s movie.
But anyway, the kid essentially got lost in the woods and literally got pulled into a tree by this weird race,
almost like a troll.
That's
what they say at one point.
Yeah, exactly. And one of them came out instead looking like the kid, but eventually the parents figure it out, and
the mom does,
and she goes to try and get him back.
She gets that mysterious call from the guy who owns the land, and he's like, I saw what you did, I saw the tree, and he mentions the license plate and stuff. So then he says, I'm the guardian of these woods and so on, and my family's done it for generations. And at first she's like, no, I'm not going to do it. And then when she finds her husband dead by the hands of the kid, he like cut the hand off, and he's like playing with the hand of because the father, after he had a few drinks, he smacks the kid right in like a little shit, and then he dies for it. So
I love the part when she hits the kid in the head with a baseball bat.
Yeah, to finally get him in the trunk, because she's like, you want to go on a drive? And of course he's looking at her like, hell no, I know what you're up to.
I know what's happening.
Yeah.
We all seem to have liked that one.
Yeah,
I thought the changing one was really good.
I thought the Krampus one started off a little weak, but
which
it ended
is the
up...
next one that we're going into.
Yeah,
so the girl, like you said, you stole the key to give to the girl. She goes off with her family, right?
Yeah, they're going off on a trip to go see a strange family member. It's their aunt, and they get there, and it's super creepy. She's like weird.
Well, you get the vibe they're trying to get money from her.
Right, yeah, because he goes there, because she's rich, and he's going there to sell something. She saw right through it, and the mom was kind of, like, annoying and, like, pompous, and then the two kids were a little bratty and disrespectful, like, purposely, like, breaking their Krampus, like, fingering, and it looks like it was her hand guy, the keeper. I don't know what they call him. But he's like the keeper of the whatever he takes, the handyman.
The groundsman.
Groundsman, that's the word I'm looking for.
And you know who it was, right? It was Death from Supernatural.
Yeah. He was super mad about him, but she kicks him out of the house. and they start getting stalked by Krampus, and it
and
was
not a bad-looking Krampus either.
No, he's brutal, and they're like, oh no, because they learned the story of Krampus, and they're like, oh no, like we just have to confess our sins.
Well, the
that
kid acts like a little asshole and breaks the trinket. Remember? And,
right? Yeah.
That's what starts it all. And
as a battle was ensuing, I thought it got better. Like the acting got better, the graphics got better.
Picking off the family one by one, and the chains throwing and just pulling them through windows and stuff was pretty badass.
It was so cool, and then even the end of that was
the transformation and the twist and everything.
They kill she kills Krampus. The girl survives. The teenager girl survives it. She's the only one that survives. She burn him and
blow him up. It was very over the top.
Yeah, it was crazy. And then she gets back inside the house with her aunt, and she's like, "You sent us out there to die." Spoiler. And
because she had done bad things herself, and so she was trying to get the heat off of her by bringing in this money-grubbing family, and so on. And
well, it was all about anger. You can like Krampus shows up because you're filled with anger, fills that void.
So not like there's one Krampus. It was the fact that anyone could kind of become Krampus if they had that spirit go into them.
Right, the revenge aspect.
They turned into a vengeful spirit almost.
Yeah, and because like she realized that her aunt sent them out there to get slaughtered. She ended up wanting to get revenge, and she becomes Krampus and kills her aunt. And I was like, yes!
Yeah, it was.
That was satisfying.
It was a good twist, yeah.
So I thought it was a really awesome, like, build up. Like, they started off not as strong, but they ended it really strong. So I enjoyed that storyline.
Yeah, that was a good one too. I love the Krampus stuff.
How about the weird way they tied up the investigation, though, with the fact that the girl gets possessed by the spirit of the deceased girl, and goes and she's looking for someone to bang down so she can get, impregnated, and because she was a virgin, and so I guess that's why she was chosen, so to speak, to go there.
Well, she's the only girl there.
Well, yeah, but you almost got the vibe that she was lured in, and she was there for a reason because she was a virgin. And
right.
So yeah, it was a weird way to end that one, because the one guy dies, and then the other guy, after they have sex, is when she comes to.
Yeah.
And because she was in like a trance, and after there, she was like, what did we just do? And she didn't remember anything, and I don't know. It was actually my least favorite of the stories.
Yeah.
Was that particular one. I thought all the others were really strong. That one was more just by the books. But this is about to the time.
Your baby. He's like, and like the fact how it escalated so fast. Like, no, I'm pregnant with your baby. He's like, what? You like jumped on my penis and now you're pregnant? Like, who does that?
Yeah, it's like, why are you walking around without your leggings on now? Aren't you cold?
So
you just had
weird.
the short little skirt on and stuff.
So weird. It was like, not the strongest story.
It was the weakest link out of all of them,
definitely.
I'd say. But now we're to the best thing, which was how they resolved things and the cool twist at the end.
Yeah, we didn't talk about the whole Shatner experience. So I guess you can touch base on that.
Yeah, Shatner basically plays a radio host that is sort of, since it's a small town, he's sort of the radio overlord of the town, and he is in charge of the Christmas broadcast. So
playing songs.
He plays the songs, and he's talking and getting more and more drunk and
drinking eggnog,
saying silly things. But he is sort of the one that ties everything together. By at the end. Nice, Fuego. Real smooth.
We're being spirited right now.
So
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
But yeah, it all ties in how, Fuego. Go ahead. Jump in there. I'm going to take a drink myself.
Oh, well, it's actually very cool. And this was what elevated it from just your mediocre anthology to being very interesting, is that, so the whole time Shatner is talking about this weatherman that they can't seem to get in touch with, and he's like, well, I guess he's busy, or it's cold, or bad reception. He gives
the radio weatherman.
Yeah, exactly. So he gives all these excuses throughout about why they can't get in touch with this guy, and lo and behold, the big twist is that you find out Santa is not going around slaughtering elves that have gone zombified and insane. I guess he's dressed up as a Santa, so at first you're wondering, wait, is this like a Santa at the mall that went crazy? But apparently the weatherman was dressed as Santa for the event at the mall where he was reporting, and he was in a just moment of hallucination killing all of these different employees of the mall as opposed to elves. And just where the reveal transpires, it's when he's in the middle of the fight with Krampus at the very end. You're just like, go Santa, kick his ass, kill this guy. He caused all this trouble. And then the twist happens and they pull like the curtains back more or less. And he's like looking in the mirror and realizes, wait a minute, I'm not this big, strong Santa. He's a half-assed, horrible-looking Santa that has a cheap beard on and everything. And turns out it's the weatherman who has had some psychotic breakdown and has just been killing people. And Shatner even revealed at various points as the film went on that there's a police situation. So he was dropping hints, but you didn't realize they were connected until the very end. So it was almost like a double twist reveal, which saved the movie. Not so much that it needed to be saved, but it elevated it, I guess, is a better way to describe it.
I agree. It was like a double take for me. I'm like, wait, what? Oh, how smart was that? Yeah. Because the whole time I'm like, what is the point of Will Shatner right now? Like, what is the point of his whole, like, radio story and the disgruntled weatherman? Because even in the beginning, the weatherman like flips him off
as he's leaving. He held up the sign where
he's like, go F yourself, stupid Christmas, whatever. And
being a real Grinchy poo,
right?
Or so Scrooge.
The reveal was really cool, and he ends up dying by police suicide pretty much because he thinks he's still battling Krampus, and they just like blow him away.
It was such an awesome end to the movie.
I thought it redeemed
the movie itself was really strong. Again, I don't think it needed redeeming, but it
that's why I
took it to
myself,
that extra level. The outside of the one story, like you guys said, that was pretty weak. I thought the tree story was strong. I thought the Krampus story was strong, and I thought the wraparound story was really strong. So there's really, there was only one of the four elements that didn't really work for me.
When I say redeem, I don't mean like the rest of the movie was bad. I just think that while watching it, I didn't understand why I was watching it until the very end, and then I started putting all the pieces together, and I was like, oh wow, this is actually a really clever movie.
And it made you want to watch it again, didn't
it? Because then you could rewatch it and like, okay, and just really pick up on the stuff that you were picking up but not really noticing as you went through it, and just kind of appreciating it on the level that it should be appreciated at. So like at first I just kind of did a roller coaster for me, and then at the end I was like, okay, it clicked. I'm like, okay, this is actually pretty good.
Right.
And I think one factoid to mention is that our friends at Bloody Disgusting recently did a poll where they said, name your top 5, horror Christmas movies ever made. And we know, as we did research trying to this holiday season, there's not really that many. There's not. I mean, especially that are really good. I think
maybe like 10, 15.
Less than 20 for sure. But the top 5 included this movie. So it shows that in just the year it's been available, it's kind of left its impression, and people are like, wow, that is very memorable.
Yeah, and
I thought it was.
With Krampus coming out and everything, I think everybody's starting to look towards Christmas like it's time to focus on and get us some good films.
Right.
No, especially for us that like scary stuff around the holidays or, all year round. So, this was a good entry.
Definitely. Yeah. So, I think that's going to do it, guys. That's going to cover our podcast all about the 2 holiday-themed anthology movies, one called Holidays and the other called A Christmas Horror Story. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, let us know in the comments below if you agree with us or not. And in fact, if you're listening on iTunes, jump over, leave a review about the podcast if you wouldn't mind. Make sure you're subscribed and share the podcast out. But we could really use some comments, guys. It's going to help the podcast get more exposure and bring more people to our fun little discussions here. That would be awesome. But hopefully you had a good time. Hopefully y'all had an excellent Merry Christmas and happy holiday.
Kwanzaa.
Yep.
Feliz Navidad.
Christmas, Hana, Kwanzaa.
Kwanzaa.
That's the all-encompassing one, right?
Yes, exactly. So
Merry Kwanzaa.
Thanks for spending it with us or listening to it later. Either way, we appreciate it. And thanks very much for listening. I've been Cecil Laird.
Gracias, Jaime and Fuego.
Murder Krampus. I'm Marcia Parker.
And until next time, remember,
stay scared. Merry Christmas, you filthy animal.
Holidays.
And a Happy New Year.
Happy holidays. Jesus fucking God. Holy
I saw him coming.
God, I'm so sorry.